Black Americans are among the fastest growing groups of entrepreneurs in the United States. And yet, Black owned businesses close at higher rates and access capital at lower rates than almost any other group. So, what does it actually mean to build something of your own? And what does it take to make it last? In our last episode, we looked at employment. We talked about labor force participation, unemployment rates, wage disparities, and the reality that meaningful work does not always show up in official data. Employment is one path to economic mobility. Entrepreneurship is another. And for many Black men in America, entrepreneurship is not simply a career choice. It is a response to barriers, a declaration of independence, and sometimes the only option that makes sense. According to data from the U.S. Census Bureau, there are approximately 3 million Black-owned businesses operating in the United States. Over the past decade, the number of Black-owned businesses has grown significantly, making Black entrepreneurs one of the fastest-growing business ownership groups in the country. The majority of these businesses are small businesses. Many employ fewer than 10 people. Together, they generate billions of dollars in annual economic activity and operate in industries such as construction, transportation, personal services, consulting, food service, healthcare, and professional services. The growth is real, but growth alone does not tell the entire story. Access to capital remains one of the most significant challenges facing Black entrepreneurs. Research from the Federal Reserve continues to show that Black business owners are denied loans at higher rates than white business owners. Even when approved, Black entrepreneurs often receive smaller loan amounts and less favorable lending terms. The venture capital landscape tells a similar story. Only a small percentage of venture capital funding reaches Black founders. For many entrepreneurs, the challenge is not developing an idea. The challenge is securing the resources necessary to scale it. Self-employment continues to grow as well. Many Black men enter entrepreneurship through skilled trades, consulting, freelancing, transportation services, real estate, coaching, and independent contracting. Some build companies. Others create careers built around expertise and reputation. The creator economy has added another layer to this conversation. Digital platforms have lowered barriers to entry for entrepreneurship in ways that were almost impossible a generation ago. Today, a person with a camera, a microphone, a skill, or specialized knowledge can build an audience and a business simultaneously. YouTube, podcasting, online education, digital products, membership communities, consulting, e-commerce. The tools available to entrepreneurs today look very different than they did 20 years ago. Side businesses have become increasingly common as well. For many people, entrepreneurship begins not as a full-time career, but as supplemental income, a weekend business, a freelance client, a small service, a growing audience, something that starts small and eventually becomes something larger. So what do these numbers tell us? The first thing they tell us is that entrepreneurship among Black men is growing. This is one of the most underreported economic stories in America. Millions of businesses, billions of dollars in economic activity, significant growth over time. These are not small numbers, and they are not numbers that often dominate public conversations. The second thing the numbers tell us is that growth and access are not the same thing. A person can have the skill, the vision, the work ethic, the customer demand, and still struggle because access to capital remains limited. The lending data reveals structural barriers that extend beyond individual effort. The question is not whether Black entrepreneurs are building businesses. The evidence clearly shows they are. The question is what becomes possible when access to resources expands. The creator economy tells a different kind of story. For many entrepreneurs, digital platforms have reduced dependence on gatekeepers. A storefront is no longer required. A television network is no longer required. A publishing house is no longer required. Many people can now build audiences, products, and businesses directly. That shift is changing what entrepreneurship looks like for an entirely new generation. But here is what the numbers cannot tell you. They cannot tell you about the Black man who started a landscaping company with a borrowed truck and a borrowed mower and now employs a dozen people in his community. They cannot tell you about the barber who owns his shop, knows every customer by name, and has spent years serving as a mentor, counselor, and community leader without ever receiving a formal title. They cannot tell you about the creator who started making videos from a spare bedroom and eventually built a business that reaches people across the world. They cannot tell you about the entrepreneur who failed, then failed again, and then failed one more time before finally finding something that worked. They cannot tell you about the months when there were no customers, the years when growth was slow, the sacrifices families made while businesses were still uncertain. Entrepreneurship is not romanticized in this series. It is difficult, it is risky, the failure rates are real, the stress is real, and the playing field is not always level. But what the data also shows is that Black men continue building anyway, not waiting for permission, not waiting for perfect conditions, building with what they have, where they are, for the people they love, and for the futures they hope to create. That is not a statistic. That is a pattern of character. Before we continue, I want to leave you with a question. What role does entrepreneurship play in economic mobility? And what would change if Black entrepreneurs had access to capital at the same rates and on the same terms as everyone else? Earning money and building wealth are not the same thing. A person can earn a great income, run a successful business, and still struggle to build lasting wealth. In our next episode, we look at Black men and wealth, income, net worth, homeownership, investing, and the question of how wealth is built, protected, and passed forward across generations. This series is designed to encourage understanding, not agreement. The statistics discussed in this episode and the sources used to obtain them are available below. If this conversation made you think differently about the topic, continue with episode 5 as we explore the next chapter in the story. Because understanding begins long before conclusions do.